she's mad at Trump. She's mad at Trump for not letting her run for Senate or governor in Georgia. Anyone, you can go on her Twitter, her ex, whatever, and go back to earlier this year, start in like April. And you'll find her talking about wanting to run for Senate and then governor, being told she can't and announcing she wouldn't, but announcing it very reticently and with a lot of shade at like the good old boy network keeping her down.
I'm excited to have with me today my good friend, and you guys know her well from all of her years on television and everywhere. She is the host of Off the Cupp on iHeartRadio. And you also know her, maybe you've seen us together on a certain cable news network from time to time. SE Cupp, welcome to Trailblaze.
Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Yes, it's been fun. I was on your Substack a while back, which was solely fun. And so I've been looking for ways to get us back together and talk a little bit about what's going on in the world.
It's always fun to talk to you. It's always fun.
I know. Thank you. So let's just get to what I think is kind of, I don't want to say it's not really depressing, but it is like fascinating that we are living through an era where someone like Marjorie Taylor Greene has decided to sort of side up with the coalition of the rational. And she seems like she's making more and more sense these days after a long career in politics. And I guess she's never been around that long, but her career in politics of trafficking in the most toxic things and talking about things that are been really crazy for most of America. She is now starting to stand up and say, maybe we shouldn't do so much of that. I'm just wondering what you think about Marjorie Taylor Greene today and how she is even rejecting the toxicity. She was on CNN on Sunday when I was there, and she said, I apologize for my participation. Should we believe that?
It's a really good question. I'm not keen on laundering her reputation. I'm especially not keen on the media helping her do that. Mm-hmm. And I'm not mad that CNN or MS is having her on. Like, I'm not mad at that. But I don't think we need to put a shine on, a person who's been one of, as you say, the worst traffickers of conspiracy theories, violent rhetoric, toxic partisan political rhetoric. This is a person who once chased around a Parkland shooting victim, a child, asking if this was like a false flag or if he was a paid actor. I mean, I don't think we should forget who Marjorie Taylor Greene was like 5 minutes ago.
5 minutes ago.
Now that said, I don't think also we shouldn't look a gift horse in the mouth if she's finally talking like a rational, morally responsible person. We shouldn't tell her to stop doing that. But I think there's a backstory here that explains what she's doing that people need to be aware of.
Yeah, what's going on?
Yeah,
what do you think?
This is personal. This is, I think, about the fact that she's mad at Trump. She's mad at Trump for not letting her run for Senate or governor in Georgia. Anyone, you can go on her Twitter, her ex, whatever, and go back to earlier this year, start in like April. And you'll find her talking about wanting to run for Senate and then governor, being told she can't and announcing she wouldn't, but announcing it very reticently and with a lot of shade at like the good old boy network keeping her down. And her disappointment in Trump and Republicans for getting in her way and not empowering her. So I think some of this is a little like hurt feelings for carrying his water as long as she did, being as loyal a subject as she has been, and being told it's not her time or she's not the right person for these or whatever she was told. I think that's what's going on here. I don't think she suddenly got a conscience. Right. And I think if you look at what some of the rest of MAGA influences are doing, they sound crazy. They're making weird decisions suddenly. you always just have to follow the money. And I don't trust any of these people to be good people. And so I don't believe that what she's doing is out of the goodness of her heart.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I am,
like I can't, I'm not stupid.
right.
We've seen too much.
Yeah. I am the son of a Methodist pastor. And so in my heart, I always believe that, every saint has a past and every sinner has a future, right? So you want to give people the chance to like get on the right side of the good things. But then
Yeah,
your like real life sensibilities also tickle up and you just sort of think, but is this real? Is it legitimate? It all happened so fast. And do we even
fast.
know like where she'll be 6 weeks from now or 2 weeks from now? If Donald Trump calls her and they decide to make up, will she kind of turn back? And nobody really wants to be exploited that way, but it does seem like for the moment, whether it's on foreign policy, it's on the health, helping people get their health care subsidies paid for,
Yeah,
which is a legitimate issue in a place like Georgia where she's from,
yeah,
or dealing with the tragedy of the Epstein situation and the files and the women who are exploited and trying to make sure that
yeah.
that story is told so these women have justice. And, I will say this is just a quick aside. I've been asked a couple of times whether or not I think Democrats are winning in this. And I just have to say, I don't think anybody wins in this. I think everybody here is loser because it's such a tragedy. And the question
Yeah.
is whether or not we're going to do ourselves more harm, right, in the course of this process. Or will we try to find some way to get justice for these women and to find a systemic way to hold people accountable who are doing this kind of exploitation? So that all said, I think it just makes me hinky like to think
Yeah.
that Marjorie Taylor Greene is legit getting on the right side.
I think your point is really important. Like, what's she going to do next? And will she turn if, she and Trump make amends? And, she's running for president. At least that's what she's saying. So you have to wonder if this pivot is also a calculation to run for some other MAGA base that she thinks is out there. I'm always willing to like, accept people who have a change of heart. And when I broke with the Republican Party in like 2015, 2016,
Has it been that long now?
yeah,
Wow. Okay.
been
Yeah.
homeless for a very long time. And, I'm still conservative, but I broke with the
Yeah.
party, in 2015, 2016. And when I did that, I was welcomed by Democrats
Mm-hmm.
and liberals who said, yeah, we're happy to have you, and it's not that I became a Democrat.
No.
It's that they were happy to have someone criticizing from the right. And so I join in that spirit, like happy to have her criticism of Trump on Epstein and healthcare and tariffs and America First. Happy to
Foreign
have
intervention, right? Like willy-nilly
foreign
foreign
wars.
intervention.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, I'm happy to have that. It's important to have, that from coming from where she is, but I'm just deeply suspicious of why. And I think that's fair. I think she's earned our suspicion, and she has to understand, what people are going to be skeptical about this for some time. And she's got to prove herself, I think, over time to be this new rational moral compass and someone who's going to call out her own party. She's got to do that for a while before we all just jump on board. And I say we in the non-Trump camp, but also we in the media.
Yeah. I was reading some of our colleagues who are over at the Bulwark, and they made an interesting point today, which is that is she doing herself long-term harm, right? So she's winning this short-term battle to kind of reposition herself and give people a chance to rethink her. But is she doing long-term harm? Because we've seen so many people who were on the right who then came out and challenged Trump, but then they got embraced by people like me. They got embraced by the media, got embraced by the mainstream, the elites, the institutions. And that just infuriated the MAGA right, which then disavowed those people completely. And they ran back to Donald Trump's arms because he just understands better than anyone else that this is really a fight about the elites and the institutions as much as it is about any ideological or policy position.
No one on the right beats Trump.
Yeah.
It just doesn't happen. And we've seen it over and over and over again. And this party, this version of the Republican Party under Trump has no problem kicking good conservatives out, right? We saw it with Adam Kinzinger. We saw it with Liz Cheney. We've seen it with tons of retiring Republicans. You could go down a list of casualties. People who thought, I'm going to be the moral center of the party. I'm going to take on Trump from the right. And they are no more. They are no longer with us, politically. So this is not going to, she's not going to emerge the hero of this. She's not going to be the last man standing in this, which is why I think your point is also smart. This might just be temporary. She might realize how toxic this is for her and turn tail, because ultimately she still wants power. She still wants celebrity. This is not a person who just wants to keep their head down and pass bills. This isn't why she's there.
Right.
So, either she does this and washes out and, gets a job at Newsmax or whatever, or she goes back. She turns back to Trump. I think those are the only two reasonable outcomes.
So one of my favorite people, even when I disagree with her, one of my favorite people to watch on television is Jasmine Crockett, the congresswoman from Texas. And she was on recently with Jake Tapper and had one of the funniest moments to me where she talked about Marjorie Taylor Greene. And she said, she didn't do the first part of the quote, but she did the last part, which was enough if you were paying attention. People always say, you can fuck around and find out. She's like, they're now in the find out phase, right? Donald Trump. And Donald Trump is now coming for the Marjorie Taylor Greenes of the world, and with the same ferocity that he came for every other rational person, calling them names, unleashing people who dox her or violently send pizzas to her house, or whatever the thing is that people are doing to intimidate you, and then to try to see if that can pressure you back into falling in line. And I gotta give her credit for right now, she's not falling back in line, and she's leaning into the storm. And I think that, again, is increasing her saleability in the world. The question is, does she stay there, as we've talked about for the last few minutes? All right, here's the bigger question. MTG of it all. What is happening, though, on the MAGA right? Is this evidence of a broader fissure that's starting to take place? And we see it happen, the Tucker Carlson, Nick Fuentes platforming. Now we're seeing it over
Shapiro,
Epstein.
Megyn Kelly,
the Ben Shapiro. What's happening with the MAGA right?
Yeah, so I just wrote about this for Substack because.
And what's the name of your Substack again? I'm sorry.
Pitching and Snitching.
Oh, Pitching and Snitching, right? On Substack. Okay, just want to make sure.
Thank you. Yep. Let me just start by saying I'm so glad I no longer play in this sandbox. Okay? Because this used to be my sandbox. I know all these people. I don't know them. I mean, I know some of them very well. Tucker gave me my first job. I know Megyn. I worked with Megyn at Fox. I know Ben. I've had Ben on my show. I don't know Candace that well. I didn't know Charlie that well. I definitely don't know Nick Fuentes at all. But, the right-wing media sandbox is where I used to play. And I can't tell you how gross this sandbox is. It's gross for all the reasons cozying up to neo-Nazis and white supremacists and laundering their ideas and making them seem more palatable. Megyn questioning the right age for pedophilia. Like, all of this stuff is gross for the reasons you can see. But it's gross for other reasons, too, because this is all just a grift. Again, this is just about money and subs. And since Charlie was killed, everyone in this space has been looking to take up his mantle, his platform, his subscribers, his fans, his followers, his power.
Fill the space.
Influence.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because he was very, very influential and powerful and had lots of subscribers and followers. Money. Okay? Money. And so they're all looking at this pie and they're trying to figure out how they can cut it and each get a piece and who can get the biggest piece. And if they have to do a little neo-Nazism to do it, if they have to defend pedophilia a little bit to do it, if they have to do these gross, weird conspiracy theories about who killed Charlie Kirk, they'll do it. That's all just the calculation they're making. none of these people, in my estimation, maybe save Ben Shapiro, are like true believers of any of this shit. It's just garbage, but it's profitable garbage. And they can tell where the MAGA followers are. And they created MAGA followers, right? They cultivated a base that demands more conspiracy theories, more anti-Semitism with every day, defending the worst possible people on the planet. When you cultivate that, you have to feed that beast, and they have to keep feeding the beast. And no surprise, the beast gets more insatiable and uglier and wanting uglier stuff. And the problem I have with, the Ben Shapiro of it all, finger wagging at Tucker and Megyn, and like,
right.
Are we really pretending any of this ugliness just started with Nick Fuentes and not Donald effing Trump?
Yep.
Donald Trump is the one who opened the door to the Oath Keepers, the Proud Boys, the neo-Nazis, the white supremacists, the David Dukes. He opened that door. If you're not willing to say Donald Trump created this problem, and none of them are, I don't give a shit who you're blaming now for just carrying the torch and making money off of what Donald Trump, an environment that Donald Trump allowed to happen. So none of it's genuine or rational or intellectually honest to me from where I sit, but it's definitely profitable. But I want everyone who's watching this food fight inside the right, don't buy the idea that like MAGA's fracturing. It is not. This is performative. It's for money and subs and power and influence. And it'll all shake out for them in the end. Trust me.
And you think that's even true with sort of the Ted Cruz approach of calling out the anti-Semitism that he's starting to see on the right, which, those of us on the left have been having to sort of wrestle with this evidence of some anti-Semitism on the left. And of course, the president has been exploiting that for political gain on the right. But now, I mean, this Fuentes with the organized jury and all the admiring Hitler and Stalin, like all of this stuff that people are now able to say out loud, which people didn't even whisper 10 years ago.
Right.
And now the president is defending him and defending Carlson, I should say, for having him on, having on a show for Tucker. But Ted Cruz seems like he also has had the Marjorie Taylor Greene juice and is willing to stand up and say this is too much.
I think everyone in the right is very oddly having to confront this crossroads. Like it's such a weird crossroads, and an ugly one. But I think this is a real fork in the road for Republicans. Like I said, I think it started back in 2015, which is why I made the decision I did. I could see where this was going to go, and I didn't want any part of it. But we're at this crossroads again because it's sort of reached a fever pitch. And people like Ted Cruz, who are probably contemplating a future run for president, a future that will outlast Trump, right? Because Ted Cruz can keep running. Trump cannot. I think they're having to figure out, okay, where do I go with this? And what are my constituents going to say? And what are they going to want? What side of history do I want to be on? What's going to help me run in the future? What's going to help me fundraise? And, everything that comes with that. So I think you're seeing in real time a lot of people contemplating their political futures and wondering how to navigate this particular landmine, which if you had told me in 2012, this is what the party would be dealing with and confronting, I would not have believed you. But that's where we are today. Again, because of 2015, not 2025, 2015.
You're right. It was the Donald Trump of it all. And listen, I'm going to quote you on the don't believe this fracture of the MAGA right, because I think that you might be onto something here. And the question is there space between kind of the MAGA right and the rational, the Reagan right, like the people who we grew up with, we thought of conservatives like low taxes and strong military and patriotism. It's amazing how far we are away from that. So is there space kind of to the left of MAGA? It's hard to even say left and right because MAGA doesn't really seem to exist in that paradigm. But is there space outside of MAGA for a conservative in American public life that will have a chance to compete? I just don't know.
This is the existential question that Republicans faced both in 2020 and they'll face it again in 2028. What does it take for the rational right, the compassionate conservative, to rise again? Because you're not seeing it platformed in any of the usual places. The Republican Party used to be the standard bearer of conservatism, jettisoned the conservatism. It no longer matters. Fox News and right-wing media used to be a place where you would hear people like Charles Krauthammer and Jonah Goldberg and Stephen Hayes talk about conservatism. No one talks about conservatism anymore. So, I mean, now you have to go to like Jonah's Substack or like my Substack to see any like real conservative ideas being discussed. Because we just don't have the influence or power anymore. So,
and for those of us on the left who used to look at places like Heritage and AEI as places to go find like these interesting free market ideas about things that we cared about, like healthcare, education, let's see what the right's thinking. That's not really
taxes, foreign policy, policies, ideas. We're no longer fighting about ideas. We're fighting about personalities and cults and Nazis and garbage. So what will it take for that to rise again? And there's two schools of thought on this, really. One school of thought is it'll take a center-right conservative like an Adam Kinzinger, like a Mitt Romney, Liz Cheney, name your good conservative, to rise up and fight off the MAGA stuff. Maybe MAGA's very unpopular at this point, and remind Republicans, including MAGA voters, what a national candidate could look like again who's doing conservatism. I think that's less likely than the second option, which is that it takes a very far left political figure, a Bernie Sanders, a Zohran Mamdani, an AOC, to rise and get the power they've wanted, right? On the very far left, the power they've been asking for in the presidency. To really shake Republicans out of this MAGA stupor and say, we've got to get back to the middle, where Democrats have gone off this crazy cliff. We can recapture the center, but we can't do it with MAGA. So I think that's more likely. I just don't think people would give an Adam Kinzinger or a Liz Cheney a chance. And by people, I mean MAGA and the left. Like, y'all love Adam Kinzinger and Liz Cheney for their courage, right? But if they ran for president, y'all would make them monsters again, right? Yeah. So I just know how that goes. So I think it's going to take a very far left progressive figure to scare Republicans out of this MAGA cult and remind us what it will take to defeat progressivism. And that's conservatism. That's an idea. That's not a person. It's an idea. And it's competing in a marketplace of ideas. That's the only way. And it's the only way the left is gonna defeat MAGA and Trumpism too, is with ideas. It's not with personalities. It's with ideas. And I've been saying, and I know I've said this to you too, Democrats need an agenda. They need an agenda. It can't just be Trump's doing this garbage and so vote him out. And don't vote for J.D. Vance either. There's got to be an agenda that addresses affordability, crime, immigration, the things that matter most to people right now. So I think that's the same on the right, too.
That is the same. And maybe one of those people might be Sarah Cupp. We'll see if we... if I see you in New Hampshire, at a house party, I'll know.
Yeah, at my lake house. It won't be to run.
Things have turned. Things have really turned. SE Cupp, thank you for joining us. It's been such a pleasure to talk to you again today.
Thanks, bud. I loved it. Thank you.
All right. Talk soon.